After 3 days of testing in Bahrain, the drivers have gathered valuable data to share with the engineers in order to maximize the potential of the latest ground effect generation cars. The teams will have 2 weeks to best prepare for the trip to Melbourne, where time will be of the essence, and no hiding will be allowed. And according to reports and rumours, Ferrari are setting up for a big surprise. Their first upgrades are already on the way, and they could use this to create a big gap at the start of the season. So, what will the upgrades of Ferrari be, and can they rely on the knowledge of Hamilton to deliver top-notch feedback to fix all of the issues plaguing the SF25 so far? To no one's surprise, McLaren emerged from the first days of seasonal action in the best possible shape, with an MCL39 that appeared balanced and extremely strong in testing, but not without flaws that could mirror the limitations of the last world champion, MCL38. The other top teams, particularly Ferrari, expected more in terms of performance. The SF25 has had some issues, but nothing that shows a lack of pure speed, and there will be work to be done in Maranello over the next 2 weeks. However, it is thought this work was already started after the first simulator tests, but due to higher temperatures and a more front-limited layout, values in Australia may not be similar to those in Sakir. McLaren, the world champion team, has made the best possible start to its defense of the constructors' title and attack on Max Verstappen's throne. Lando Norris's race simulation on Thursday afternoon astounded the competition, both in terms of times and the consistency and ease with which the vice-world champion held up for the duration of the 57 laps. The delta obtained from Leclerc and Antonelli's simultaneous simulations revealed an extremely strong MCL39 in low-temperature settings. The Woking car's front axle, in particular, proved to be a strong point in these testing, resembling the old papaya. Starting with the introduction of the single-seater, it was evident how far Andrea Stella's team's technicians had pushed the anti-dive idea of front suspension. However, with warmer temperatures on Friday, Piastri's race simulation proved to be more like the rest of the field due to a greater limitation in the back. So, what about Ferrari and their solutions? McLaren's speed concerns those who believe the Reds can win a world championship after 17 years of abstinence. The significant changes made to the car over the winter have made the initial setup of the SF25 more difficult. On a few occasions, particularly in the last 2 days, we have seen the car completely balanced, and with a better understanding, it's believed Leclerc and Hamilton will have a car with good potential to be competitive. The most obvious difficulties were seen in braking from the first morning of testing, with a speed difference of many kilometers per hour in those portions compared to Norris's MCL39 in race simulations. However, the vulnerabilities that plagued the SF24 have been addressed. The front axle, which has received the biggest adjustments over the winter, has proven to be the strongest part due to a center of gravity shift forward, and will help the SF25 on a track like Albert Park. The learning curve for the characteristics and demands of the SF25 will be critical in order to prevent serious setbacks at the start of the season. At this point, the biggest unknown among the top teams is undoubtedly Red Bull's position. The RB21 surprised with the absence of obvious changes on the skin, but a lot of work has been done under the hood to improve the cooling that has been causing headaches for the technicians in Milton Keynes for many months. Neither Liam Lawson nor Max Verstappen performed a full race simulation at the Bahrain tests, as they did last year. If the Dutchman does not require 300 kilometers with a full tank of gasoline, the decision not to allow Lawson the opportunity to perform this test is odd, to say the least. As the hours passed, the RB21 appeared to be more at peace, but the work program chosen did not allow for the establishment of a competitive range in which Red Bull will find itself once it arrives in Australia. The Russell-Antonelli pairing progressed significantly during testing in Bahrain in the Mercedes W16. The W16 completed the most laps overall, so there will be much to examine over the next 2 weeks in Brackley. After 3 years of unexplainable highs and lows, Toto Wolff's squad is eager to provide its academy duo with a steady car, despite the fact that it will be tough to match the leader's pace. Russell himself admitted it was no surprise to see their rivals so strong. It's no surprise to see some of our rivals be so strong, particularly McLaren, but the gap between McLaren and Mercedes did close in the 300-kilometer simulations between Thursday and Friday. Mercedes maintains that the 2024 W15's flaws have been addressed, but there was a hint at Sakir that the new car, like the older ground effect Silver Arrows, may struggle in slower corners. So, while analysing the field is never easy, the McLaren was unquestionably the most consistent and effective car. Norris and Piastri performed admirably in all conditions, demonstrating remarkable consistency. The MCL39 created confidence in the drivers fast. Sakir is well known for being a track where the rear end is more stressed, requiring engineers to neutralise rear traction in order to achieve good degradation and data collection. McLaren is merely continuing where it left off, demonstrating a highly aerodynamically efficient platform. In addition, the team had two rear wing configurations available. Their audacious front-end design does not appear to have influenced or slowed understanding of the latest model. Melbourne will be a vastly different challenge, on an almost opposite path. However, Andrea Stella is satisfied with McLaren's progress. We completed our testing this morning, before giving both Lando and Oscar the chance to do some runs to allow them to gain information on the capabilities of the car before we head to Australia. We have made further changes to the setup as we continue to learn the characteristics of the MCL39. The team here and in Woking have done a great job. Ferrari finished last year as McLaren's closest opponents, owing to excellent development during the summer break. The SF25 has some flaws, but is there cause for serious concern? This year we will go from the 10 to 15 degrees we found on the track here to the 45 we will have in Australia. So it could be that, in Melbourne, it will be a completely different story, said Vasseur. First and foremost, Ferrari's SF25 is a distinct car in concept. Arguably, the Scuderia has made the most significant adjustments to increase load and efficiency. This is not only about the car's shape, but also its utility. The defective front, which suffered from lower temperatures, was one of the older issues that should have been addressed. The latest Maranello competitor had a stronger front. This is not related to the new pull rod suspension, but to the load center shifting forward. This generates a favorable tendency on front-limited circuits, but it is more difficult to compensate on opposing tracks, like Bahrain. Looking ahead to Melbourne, this will be an important consideration. Although each car is born with its own aerodynamic mapping, which allows it to rebalance oversteer and understeer, it should be emphasized that Ferrari has worked entirely and purposefully with a rather light-medium downforce wing. Their configuration was comparable to the McLaren, but far lighter than the Red Bull and Mercedes. This has exacerbated Ferrari's issues with setup and stability under braking. Vasseur's engineers must familiarize themselves with a car that will function differently than previous models. The SF25 is inexperienced, but its potential has not been questioned. Leclerc completed his work on day 3, while Hamilton's performance was hampered by a damaged part. The acquired data will be evaluated in Maranello beginning this week in order to begin work on the simulator for the first race. The big question will be if they are competitive from the first round. As things are standing, they might be, especially if temperatures are higher in Australia. So, what do you think? Will Ferrari surprise the grid in 2 weeks' time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.